Hi guys, went out fishing today on Sunday. This is the Hooked On channel. We're going to show you how to clean some bluegill, and later we'll be cooking them, but that'll be on our This Is How We Do It food channel. But for now I'm going to show you how to cook fillet bluegill. One thing you got to make sure is the size of the bluegill. You don't want little teeny bluegill because they won't get much meat off them. This guy right here, after putting them on a tape measure, is 8.5 inches, so it goes from 8.5 down to 7 inches. Once under 7, they're not really worth keeping because you're only getting meat from here to here, and it's actually from here to here, and it's pretty thin, so you're going to get some meat, but not a ton. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and then if you have a better way, I understand, but I'll just show you the quick way that I've learned how to do fish of this type. So make sure you have a sharp knife. Make sure your fillet knife's always been steeled there. And what I do to keep mine easy is I cut the head off at a diagonal angle. It does take a little bit of effort. It makes it easier because now I'm going to set my knife on this edge where I can get a good start into that, and I'm going to run it right down his upper fin there. Right down, I'm pulling the tip. You can hear it across the ribs. Once you get to his little pooper cavity, I guess you call it, you stick the knife through, and you're past the ribs at that point, and you just drag it down. Now you're going to take your tip and kind of go up around that little bit right there and down, and you kind of want to try stay in this direction up it so that you don't lose all the meat on the tail. Once you get past that rib, you're just pushing the knife through. You're not even really cutting, you're just pushing it down, and it takes that side right off. So again, easier with the head not on there, for me at least. Run it right down his spine. You hear the last rib, go out the pooper, straighten it out. And then I'm going to do that one time. The reason I'm coming from the back is I want to make sure I get as much of that meat back there, because if you come from the other end, you tend to miss it. Now that I got most of it off, I'm going to cut through whatever was there, and we're just going to push. And once you get good at this, I can do a fish, the next step and everything, in about a minute of fish, but it does take time. Now your next step, once you got your fillets, you got to get the skin off unless you want to scale them. So to get the skin off, you can do two things. If you don't have a fish holder, you put your nail down on it and start your knife. And just hold the skin and run your knife flat, pushing it down on that cutting board. And it slides right underneath the meat and above the skin. So then you end up with just a piece of skin, and he's clean. If you have fish holders, you can grip them with that. They do make it a little easier. And there you goes another skin. Now, inevitably, you're going to get bones on these unless you go down this little spot here. Right above where the rib was, you take your knife and you just cut straight down and pull that back till you get to the end of the rib, which is right there. Okay, and then you do another cut. There's not really any meat here. I don't know if you can see through the meat. So you're not really losing anything by removing that little bit. And that gives you about a 98% chance and 95% chance of getting all the bones, but you can still feel and see if you got bones. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Again, you can see through the meat, it's so thin. So we're just going to go to the bottom of that lump there. Make sure we're above the rib cage that we cut. To the end. Turn it, just pull that out of the way and just make a shoop. And get rid of that little piece. Now these are going to be your fillets. Now what we usually do with them, since they're small, I cut them again so I get 2 chunks out of each one. So each fish gives me 4 nuggets. And then we would deep fry these in batter, and it makes, each fish gives you 4 nuggets. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 fish. I'll have 24 fish nuggets to feed people with, or my kids. And we usually add this to a bigger batch so we have a fish fry. But that's how you do it, and you just keep going through them. It usually takes about, like I said, a minute to 2 minutes of fish, so it's worth it. You can freeze them. When you freeze the fillets, put them in a baggie. Fill the baggie with water to make sure it covers that. Okay, we got all the fish cleaned and cut in little squares like I had mentioned. It took about 15 minutes to do that. I had 9 fish. We're going to see what we ended up with. So first I'm going to put them in a big baggie, because we're going to have a fish fry later. But for now, we'll put them in a big baggie, and we'll see how much meat we got off those. See if it was worth our time fishing.
Kids love fish, so
you got 3/4 of a pound of fish off the 8 bluegill, which isn't too bad. That's actually a really good yield off of those fish for that. So now when you go to freeze it, you want to cover the fish completely with water. So So it's completely covered. We gotta get all the air out of the bag now because we want to make sure there's no air for that to get freezer burnt. So what I do is I go all the way to the end, leave a little spot where the air can come out, and just keep pushing it down till the water comes out. And then so now I'm just gonna rinse the bag off and let it dry the bag off, and I'll put it in the freezer. So when it freezes, I'll get a nice big block of fish, and I just thaw it out when I'm ready to eat it. Make sure you label what it is. This is gonna be labeled bluegill and when I caught it, so I know. And it'll be going in the freezer now.